episode, I want to let you know about my groundbreaking program, Breaking the Chains of Avoidance, a program designed just for avoidant men to help them from going from avoidance of relationships and love into deep connection and the abilities to create deep connection and lasting relationships. Right. So if you're interested in this, if avoidance is ruining your dating life and your relationships, just go down to the description below and you can put yourself onto the wait list so that you can get a huge discount off when I launch the program in a few weeks. The program will be starting on the 22nd of April, so don't delay. Welcome back to another episode of the Authentic Man podcast. I'm your host, David Chambers, and this is a mini episode that comes out on the weekend to talk about something that it's really been going down in my practice and my coaching and the men that I work with. And something I've been talking to a lot of men about at the moment as I'm enrolling men into my Breaking the Chains of Avoidance, my program for avoidant men, is this idea of pulling away when things start to get serious, right? So why do you do this? Why do you do this? In a really simple way, there's a really deep fear response, might not be consciously aware of, the nervous system response around closeness, right? And around love. There's a part of you that really wants love, right? There's a part of you that really wants a relationship, who wants to be close to somebody. But when that thing that you want comes along, it's kind of like a self-sabotage, isn't it? Where there's something we really want, and then when we get close to it, we fuck it up in some way, right? So there's a part of you that sees there's this relationship here. And then as it starts to get close, part of you is like, oh my God, this is amazing. But actually the stronger part you're experiencing, I say experiencing because you might not notice you're feeling it, especially if you're a bit cut off from your feelings and emotions, right? A lot of men think they're really emotionally in tune and they're emotionally intelligent when they're actually cut off from a lot of their emotions. Some of the signs of this is when you start to feel something difficult, you find yourself ruminating and thinking about it instead of feeling it, right? And feelings happen in the body. You're thinking about stories about it or working things out. Instead of feeling it, you're working it out. You're trying to think about it, think your way through it, solve the problem in your head, figure out why it is that you're moving away from the relationship or the dating or so forth. So you're going to start to, what happens is someone gets close, to get closer to you, and then you start panicking in some way. You start finding some sort of problem with them. You start finding some sort of problem with the relationship. You find some problem with love even. You just find yourself almost wanting to push yourself slowly away, right? This can happen slowly, it can happen quickly, right? Because the thing you want is there, but also the thing you want brings up a huge amount of fear. Right. And those fears can be around your own inadequacy, feeling like you're not good enough, feeling they may see that you're not good enough. Again, these can all be really, really unconscious, right? They might see that you're not good enough. You might not be able to love them in the right way. You might not be good enough, right? These are kind of the underlying things that are there. But how you may experience this, right? How you may experience this in the moment might be things like fault finding. Yeah, let me actually spend a bit more time on this one. I've talked about this quite a bit because it comes up so much. So you met someone great and, you're like, oh, this is great. And you're like, actually though, I don't like the way she walks. That way she walks is really irritating. And your mind just kind of projects all this difficulty and pain and uncomfortability about the way that she walks. I'm giving a really silly example, right? It can be an ick, right? You could call it an ick, there's this ick, the wallet she carries or the way she walks, or the way she pronounces a certain word. This is what you're taking this uncomfortable emotion you're feeling, right? This uncomfortability with love and closeness and intimacy, which is underlying in there, and you're projecting it all onto some aspect of her. And I say her, you could be a woman listening to this, and it could be there. And it's this way for you to be like, oh yeah, I can acknowledge this uncomfortability, but you attribute it to something that isn't really the real thing, right? You attribute it to something that isn't really actually the thing that's creating the uncomfortability, and it's a form of deflection. Right. So instead of me feeling the uncomfortability I have with intimacy and closeness and diving into that and feeling like, oh, that feels uncomfortable for me. And actually that comes from a deeper childhood wound or a deeper feeling of neglect from my parents or feeling that, I'm not good enough or I am not lovable, whatever. You project onto something that feels more comfortable outside of you, which is her. It is her handbag, the way she walks, whatever, the way her toes look. Right. And in our society, we're very kind of accepting of this, right? This avoidant habit, right? Of like, oh yeah, it's that thing that is the problem. And if that thing was gone, everything is going to be fine, right? This is something we tell ourselves, right? This is why you're kind of like pushing love away. You're feeling uncomfortable, why you move away when things start to get really serious, right? Because the whole idea of commitment, of love, is uncomfortable for you. And consciously, you may tell yourself like, no, that's not the truth. Like, that's not how I feel. Like, I'm okay with it, but there's a problem with them. And the thing is, if you're consistently finding problems with people, yeah, everyone's not perfect, but you have to start to look at yourself, right? So fault finding is one way it shows up. Another way it can show up is distancing, right? Same mechanism. I've met someone, I like them, they seem cool. Oh God, now I'm suddenly really busy with work. Like, I've got so much to do. Right, and you start distracting yourself with other things and blah, 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 work commitments, life commitments, so forth, where you start minimizing the time, consciously or unconsciously, you spend with this person, and you start becoming distracted or engaged in a lot of other things, and you create distance, and that distance probably makes you feel a little bit safer, right? And in that distance, you might tell yourself, actually, I feel better at this distance. That means the relationship or the person isn't right for me. As the old game shows would say. This is, again, you're projecting these feelings you're having, uncomfortability, like difficulty, fear, anxiety. You probably don't name them because you're probably not really that in tune with them, right? And you're projecting it onto the other person and seeing it's them as the problem, right? It's a very, very common thing for particularly avoidant people to do, is to actually not take ownership and to deflect and project problems onto someone else, onto their partners, instead of looking at themselves, because looking at themselves can feel painful and can feel like we're going to look and see that we're not good enough, there's something wrong with us, right? And I'm in this boat with all of you, man, because I'm also avoidant, right? I feel like I'm recovering from my avoidance, right? But it still shows up in these ways, like not wanting to look at myself sometimes, for instance. And this is a distancing tool, right? Another way that you create distance, right? You remove yourself. Yeah. How's another way that you do this? Another way that you do this is like an avoidance of emotional conversations or conversations about maybe the progress of the relationship, right? It's easy to do this, again, because it's like, if I felt this particular mysterious way, then I would be happy with these conversations. That means the relationship isn't right or the person's not right. Projection. I take these feelings I feel, these uncomfortability feelings, and I project them onto this person in front of me, right? Instead of having to deal with them. These are the ways in which we create this distance. These are the ways that we sabotage our relationships, right? So that's why you keep pulling away when things start to get serious. This fear of intimacy, this fear of being really seen and being judged and being rejected even. It's this kind of strategy of like, I'm going to reject you before you get to reject me, or you see me, or you see something you don't like about me, because that allows me to preserve my perception of myself. And again, this is all happening very unconsciously. Yeah. There's all this unconscious bits and pieces happen. Sometimes it seeps into the consciousness and we want to push it away, project it, and so forth. So what do you do about this? The key is actually to learn to communicate it. Yeah. Is acknowledging yourself. Look, actually, this thing I do when I get close to someone, I need to acknowledge this, and actually leaning in. One of the ways is leaning in, right? Is leaning in while also regulating your nervous system, right? And this can be co-regulation, can be a beautiful way to do this. So it's like you're seeing someone, you're dating someone, and you start to notice you wanting to pull away. Awareness is first. You got to be aware, right? You're pulling away. I'm going to lean in. I'm going to say to them maybe, right? Actually say to them, hey, I notice myself pulling away a little bit. This is a habit that I have, right? It means that actually we're getting close, and there's a part of me that feels uncomfortable with this and feels scared, but I am choosing to lean in, and I'm choosing to, tell you about this. And brownie points are telling them like, hey, if you notice this again, like, I'd love you to tell me if you notice me doing this, right? And then leaning into the emotions, being with the you might even tell them like, actually what I feel is this, this, and this. Write it down, tell a friend, right? While also practicing co-regulation, which is simply to be with another person in a state that feels regulated. It can be eye contact, it can be hand holding and so forth. It can be as simple as that, right? The co-regulation. If you want to, really take it somewhere, you can sit and breathe together and look each other in the eye and so forth is another way to co-regulate. But also regulating yourself in other times when you notice that the fear is coming up. Practicing grounding yourself, feeling the ground, feeling yourself in the body, reminding yourself of the safety of the truth of the moment that, there's nothing for you to fear. Intimacy isn't going to engulf you and overtake you. Right? These are some just kind of starting blocks to start with. And leaning into the relationship. When you catch yourself leaning out, instead of projecting and putting it onto like, oh, they're doing this thing and that's upsetting me, leaning into the relationship. That's the practice. And it's a practice that you keep doing, and I've done and I still have to do in my life, right? But it takes awareness and you take accountability as well, right? And you have to be willing to like have that conversation with someone as well. So that's why you're pulling away. That's what you can do about it. If you're listening to this and you've got a few days between now and the 22nd is when I start my program, Breaking the Chains of Avoidance. If you're interested in joining the program, then you need to send me a message very quickly because I'm closing it on Tuesday. But if you're interested, you want to join, let me know. It's a 12-week program. It's transformational. There's a number of men on there already. It's been really beautiful to men's lives and really helping them create the relationship they want and, feel the confidence and freedom in themselves that they really desire. So if you're interested in that, drop me a message. My email's in the description below. Ciao, ciao.